In the year, probably starts with a 7, began the Crusade of the Flesh. Only partially living up to its erotic undertones, this march was the sole hope for the skeleton skeptics of the world. This last alliance of human, Shek, Hiver, Newman and Rogue Robo formed a formidable army. Still didn't break triple figures in number, but hey, there's only so much choco bread to go around. Oh, so much choco bread. With only the constant marching to stave off the diabetes, the guild advanced on the Ashlands, with brave soldiers in tow. Their loyalty ranged from absolute devotion to, what was the weird Ganja man's name again, and everything in between. Yes, this private army of technically not slaves was the shining light of justice in the world, speaking more to the darkness of the world than anything else. Their route took them to a familiar set of cliffs, flanking a basin of rusted ship husks. It was the vista that one King Stobe took in daily, slumped against the old coast. "That's the thing about forgiveness, ain't it?" Rick mused, standing at his liege's foot. "Can't forgive 'em all, 'cause you still gotta do something about those who won't forgive anyone. Forgive anything but a grudge. Guess that's the next level of it all, huh? Well, we ain't got no heroes like you, but we ain't gonna let it slip away either. We'll save every fleshy we can, for real this time." "Don't worry about him, he's all moody right now, and you can't blame him," Twitch shouted up at the silent skeleton Goliath. "Must be hard going back to the sweet Lone Star's embrace. You saw how they were back in the day, eh?" "So, what is the whole deal with that, new man?" Nuke asked. "Fuck off," was the answer. Rick paced off, but everyone else joined Stobe for a moment in watching the sunrise. "Come on, Twitch, what's the gossip?" Izumi asked. "Nah, no idea what you're on about," Twitch said. "Neil, come on." "Practicing my forgetting, don't you know? Getting real good," Neil said. "Do you have any idea how your secret keeping has impacted the progress of science?" Izumi began to lecture, but the skeletons made their quick escape. "Very mature, responsible. Agnew, what about you?" Agnew said as he trotted off.
"That's funny. Skeletons can't even do that,"
Els said. Azire asked him to elaborate, which Els did via a repeated hand motion, barely kept up through his own laughter at the sight. Whatever one was to take away from this, the Crusade crusoed onwards. The lands around Stobe's resting place were still patrolled by the crab wranglers the guild had scuffled with before, and they still took great offence to the shell-less visitors. "Where's ye crabs?" a raider called. "I've got loads, but I left them at home," Nuke replied. "But home is where the crabs is, and I ain't seeing no crabs at all. He's tricking us." And with that, the guild had to fight their way through the locals. With their shiny First Empire weapons, rebuffing First Empire fancy dress costumes, and already pre-traumatized by crab claw strikes troops, victory was a sure thing. Now the route they were taking wasn't precisely that laid out by Beep, because that route would take them through the territory of the reverse new men, probably worth avoiding. Instead, they made a detour east, circling around the Skeleman land via an area known as the Pits, so called for the series of quarries that dotted the otherwise barren and dusty coastal region. On the way, they came across a beige tower, similar to those found all over the Third Empire. But something was strange about it, and not just its isolation so far from civilization. "Ping's going off here. What is this place?" Twitch mumbled. "Getting it too? Warning's here. We better be avoiding some memories or something," Neil said. "Should we go tell him?" "No. General will get mad if we stop something funny happening." "Good point." "Oi, Duke Nukem. Picked up a signal. Says the door code is 58008. Twitch called. "Nice one. Let's check this shit out," Nuke said. That a code was needed for this door was another oddity. The sandstone walls framed a solid metal door with Second Empire electronics clear to see, almost as if someone had plastered the sandstone around a more advanced structure so as to seem less suspicious or less worthy of investigation, which could only mean there was treasure inside. So reasoned the others as Nuke fiddled with the door mechanism. There was treasure inside, all right. Inside themselves. And by treasure, I mean their blood. To the beasts that raced out of the tower the moment Nuke got the door open, it was all the same.
Blood spiders!
Isaiah helpfully announced. The guild veterans had been accosted by these back in the swamps, and facing their little red fangs was a nice throwback to times when they didn't need to worry about the end of the world, because it had already happened. But seeing them again now revealed an interesting detail. "Wait, this anatomy. Look," Elena said, holding up a deceased specimen. She held it close to Els, who had Gustavsson riding on his back, as was the usual these days. Indeed, the blood spider and the skin spider were very much the same creature, although the blood spiders were 10 times smaller and 10 times more blood-coloured. "New man, what did you do this time?" Nuke shouted.
"Locked 'em up so they wouldn't cause trouble. How's that for responsible?"
Rick replied.
"Oh, it was the danger ping. You know when you get 'em all the time you can hardly recognize them anymore."
Twitch laughed. "But I recognize another sick experiment," Elena said, stroking her dripping cadaver. A Shek thing, I think. "Rick, is there anything on this planet that isn't some kind of experimental monster your fellows came up with?" Izumi asked.
"No,"
Rick replied.
"Didn't just see the bone fields? In 1.0 we tried a load of things. Not just we, everyone, humans did it too. Didn't work, except the stick men, but even they were like, quieter. So we had to try new stuff. Good thing about crazy mutant monsters is they don't need an ecosystem. They can just eat you guys. So yeah, that worked way better. But I know hivers didn't need that. We turned the whole species inside out trying to come up with something. And yeah, I'm talking literally, of course. That was way back when you could barely grow a sand urchin, right after the war. Not gonna happen again. If we win, anyway."
"Say sorry, Rick," Elena said, shoving the spider in his face.
"What?"
"Apologize to it, quickly."
"Fine. Sorry, I am sorry. You don't have to force it out of me. Trust me, I wouldn't be anywhere near right here if I wasn't. Nor looking anything like this. I've put my money where my mouth is. Now, unless you're gonna put your money where my mouth is, let's get this over with."
No money exchanged hands or mouths, and they let the Tower of Spiders be. Moving south, they caught sight of the Ashlands that evening. From this angle of approach, it lay on the other side of a large estuary. It was quite a swim, and you can bet your last chromosome that it was poisonous, acidic, and stinky to boot. There was an island in the middle of the waterway a short distance down the coast, but this island was home to another tower of precisely the same design as the Tower of Spiders, with the same Second Empire secrets disguised within. Hardly disguised, actually. Even in the twilight, they could see skeleton legionaries keeping watch from the roof, with cannons pointing out at anyone hoping to take a slightly less skin-melty path into Catlon's domain. "Look, the silhouette," Sandor said, pointing out at the tower. "The top's not the same on both sides." "Not symmetrical," Wadston said. "What? No, it's not the same on both sides. Means the cannons, they're facing this bank, not the other one."
But we're on this one,
Els reasoned. He was right, although the very fact he said it cast doubt upon the matter.
"Ah, I get it, Master Sandor,"
Isaiah nodded.
"We need to do this like ninja. Strike them from behind in the dead of night."
"What?" Nuke said, suddenly looking up from his novel. Novel. You know what it was.
"Beep! I will strike them from behind to punish the skeletons," Beep announced.
"A fine plan,"
Isaiah said.
"You folk of the hardier skins can get across downstream. They won't know what hit them."
"Then they must be informed. Beep! The will of the Queen must be known."
"Known!"
All the other hivers cheered, and at once they set off towards the water's edge. The guild hurriedly ceased their respite and moved closer to the tower, ready to take advantage of the cunning hiver sneak attack. There was a commotion nearby, coming from further down the bank. Peering over a ridge, the guild could see shadowy figures fighting in a mass melee. Some had the distinctive outline of crabs. Some had the almost as distinctive outline of the crab cosplaying handlers. Others appeared more human, but they certainly wouldn't have wanted you to think that.
Picking up a whole load of new accounts out there,
Rick said, pulling his hand over his face to furrow his brow.
but no pings. Must be the skelly wannabes,
Twitch said. He was quite right. The brawl was rendered ever more unintelligible by the fall of night, and the guild focused on trying to make out the tower. The asymmetric silhouette was unchanged, and remained so for some half an hour, during which time the din of nearby battle ceased. Squeaky, are you there yet? Nuke asked his AI core.
Beep! We are in the water. Beep! It is nice and warm.
Beep replied, her beeps faintly audible in analog form too.
Oh, you tease. I know you're giving those skeletons a right good seeing to. Look!
Isaiah said. Indeed, there was movement and flashes of light over at the tower.
Ah! I didn't even have to go there. Beep! I must be extremely powerful.
Beep said. Whatever. Everyone check your paste and let's roll, Nuke called. The guild had lathered themselves up with paste to better tolerate the burning crossing, and a better placebo you'll struggle to find. Forcing their way forward, the fighting at the tower grew louder. The guild's lanterns and torches began to illuminate the scene, just in time to witness a huge green crab tumble from the roof and bury itself into the wet mud with a sloppy slam. Must be out of ammo, getting desperate, was Nuke's assessment, and they all charged in to join the fight. But there was none. Inside the tower, more crabs lay killed, beside skewered Skeleton Legion troops. A path of destruction ran up the spiral stairs, and as the guild reached the top, they found only a single crab raider still living, his armoured shell torn apart. The harpoon cannons were silent, and their operators were in pieces all about them.
He's alive!
Isaiah called.
What happened here?
They came for our crabs. They said only robot crabs were allowed. I said I did. I said you can't associate with a robot crab. They called me degenerate.
No, that's horrible.
It's true. So we did what we had to. For the crabs. For the good times we had together. I'm crabbing till I die. Crabbing till I die. I'm crabbing till I...
With that, he fell silent. Isaiah clapped the raider's thick shoulder pads and bowed his head.
This is a sign. This is the unity of biological life against the slaughterers,
he declared.
These poor crab folk have opened the way for us. Now we must do our part, not just for ourselves or for our kingdoms, but for them too, for all living things.
It must only be done for the glory of the Queen,
Gustavsson shouted, announcing his arrival. Alright, calm down. I'm pretty sure you're in already, Bad Green, Nuke said.
My machine is part of me too, so I am in myself. Beep!
Beep proudly said.
Oh yes, and the other reason we fight is to distract ourselves from comments like that,
Isaiah added, to much agreement. The guild rested in the tower until morning, then made the short paddle southwards to reach the mainland. The belching mud underfoot gave way to a grainy ash, the minute pieces of the world the fading Second Empire had purged.
So, this is it,
Isaiah said, inspecting some ash on his fingertips.
Beyond the old lands, beyond the dead lands, the Ashlands, the land with no past and no future. An ideal site for the great battle of our age.
Izzy, you're right, Elena said, clasping his hand. Man, this whole thing's making him really shaky, Nuke commented. Don't you feel a little different? This is uncharted territory, Izumi said. Ah, and that's what's got you so excited, huh? Of course, you know how it is. No one ever's seen it and lived, all that. But I can see it all this time, since I have you. You'd be better off with Beep. She's faster. Nuke, I was trying to be... Oh, like... feelings. Yeah, Duke Nukem, remember those? Sure. It makes me feel human. Yes, Izzy, you're the only legal cuboid for me. Ah, thanks, Nuke. Only Izumi could appreciate the sentiment, for only she knew how much Nuke really loved those cuboids. In the morning light, the Ashlands was a pale swamp in a jungle of metal. Iron spiders were all over the place, but like those littering the Deadlands, they were just hardware.
So, where are we going here?
Pierre asked. Egg places, I guess, Nuke said. You'll like it, Charlie.
It smells of eggs,
Els commented. Look who's talking. Come on, let's find something to break and carefully preserve it for the purposes of modern science while ensuring its dangerous capabilities are neutralized, Nuke said, possibly influenced by Izumi's glances. So they trekked forwards, but their discoveries were less things to break and more things already broken. Fragments of great concrete structures were piled into ashen mountains, and the great hulls of spaceships lay all over the place. Some buildings stood somewhat intact, others were only huge metal beams shooting up into the sky, bent over by thousands of years of crumbling foundations.
Their attempts to destroy this region failed. There are still things, Gustafsson said.
They were trying to destroy life. I think they got it just fine,
Rick replied. The only movement to be seen was ash on the wind and drones in the sky, which hovered back and forth, paying the guild no heed.
Can the bad robot see us?
Els asked.
She can see us, hear us, and smell you,
Rick said.
Hello, bad cat lady. We're going to kill you.
Els waved towards the sky.
Yeah, what he said, Waxy. We ain't playing around, and I'll prove it,
Rick shouted out. No reply came, but Sandor reported something matching the description of a wrinkly egg of doom up ahead. Soon enough they reached it, atop a hill wreathed in titanic machines.
So, what's that?
Izumi asked Rick, pointing at a large array of disc-shaped plates, each the size of a building.
Power stuff.
But it's huge.
1.0 needed a lot of buzz.
Didn't they use uranium?
Nope. Trust me, anything we use like that isn't still here today. Used a whole lot of shit every day, mostly used to try and figure out a way to stop using it.
Worked in the end then, eh?
Isaiah said. He probably didn't mean it as a snark, but a snark it was, shutting Rick up. Besides, there was other business to attend to inside the Egg of Doom. Nuke snuck forward to open the door and peer inside. It was just like the previous egg, only the work seemed to be a little further along. Skeletons were being assembled on tables by production machines, their arms and legs twitching as testing currents were shot through them.
As the prophecy foretold, a skeleton goes to the feral pit to speak to the village elder,
a voice said from inside.
Come closer, Duke Nukem.
Izzy told me not to accept invites into strangers' houses anymore, sorry, Nuke said.
But I am no stranger, skeleton. I am General Jiang of the Hydraulic Order. Surely you dream of becoming a knight, like all loyal skeletons.
This time the voice had a faceplate to match. An unremarkable skeleton marched up the thin stairway to the door, his shit brownium armor creaking insufferably. Oh, General, I bet you know Red Rick, right?
Know him. He was the finest of us all. But alas, the tallest tree feels the axe first, eh? Stobe will tell you that much.
And remind me what actually happened to him?
New boy wants to know it all. Council kicked him to the desert for not standing down. You know, that was what they called the Second Empire. Trying to be nice to the humans, keep them alive, make them a world again with animals and shit. Doing all these social experiments, letting them draw pictures of... Oh, reproduction. Oh, sorry, kiddo. I really ain't up for remembering those times. Thanks, Stobe, we're about to kill them all. That's my line,
Rick heroically announced, bursting in with the rest of the guild.
Rick, what the fucking fuck are you wearing? No time to hang, Jang. I'll let the pain explain. Ain't got time for your rhyme. Fuck. I mean, Hydraulic Knights, kill them!
Jang shouted. Hydraulic Knights, the cream of the Skeleton Legion, literally descended on the guild from catwalks higher up the egg. They held great swords with both hands, with blades at least 1.3 azumis long. Rick stopped a falling blade with his stick, but Jang's sword was thrust at him from the front. It didn't get far. The moment it made contact with Rick's First Empire chestplate, it recoiled back, knocking Jang over backwards.
Impossible. That's military-grade fancy dress,
he marveled.
That's right, bucko. You never could beat the Kenshis without stove, huh? And you ain't even got me to save you this time.
Rick snarled, leaping forwards and batting Jang's head so hard it made a few rotations in its socket, which was not very good for the wiring, let me tell you.
We got a few of the saintly blades, too. Show 'em, Pale Scales.
Haha! Take this! Our ultimate combo move! Desert Queen Rend!
Isaiah called. Elena crouched down, and Isaiah stepped off her back to leap into the air, wheeling his hefty silver cleaver over his head. It came down on a knight, cutting through its sword, armor and innards in a clean swipe, and lodging itself into the metal ground plates.
Holy stove! The degenerates got named combo moves. We're fucked.
Jang despaired. He was right, although maybe it was just the sheer unexpected rush of biologicals that did it. They didn't even need all to be there, for the mangaka crew was sketching at the back, and speculating on what this Desert Queen reference meant for Isaiah and Elena's romance arc. Or the Shek version of a romance arc anyway. Little did they know how teaming up for an ultimate combo move carried emotional weight beyond some foolish act like touching your lips together. Don't knock it till you've tried it. So then the Egg of Doom simply became the egg containing a room. Still interesting, but no longer actively working to biocide the world. That's good, probably. The machines were shut down, and the whole place was thoroughly looted for all kinds of fascinating bits and pieces for study. A few injuries had been sustained, but overall it was a rather tidy little operation they'd pulled off. "Shall we prepare to return, my prince?" Wadston asked. "What? No way," Nuke said. "This was just the start, my man, and after it was that easy, we can totally take them, right?"
Must admit, these guys weren't ready for us,
Rick said.
Best thing to do is hit 'em again before they start getting wise. If it goes as easy as this, I think we'll be home before Christmas.
Most didn't know who this Christmas they'd be getting home before was, but that wasn't the point. After such success, how could they not carry on and finish the mad old skeletons off for good? Well, their antics had not gone unnoticed. In the depths of the Ashlands, reports of the guild's raid reached a certain scheming skeleton. She had no hesitation in ordering Operation Flesh Fuel to begin at once. It was time for the Ashlands Empire to fight back.